Hi! Today I'll be checking the swing weight accuracy of my 30-year-old Babolat Racket Diagnostic Center, better known as an RDC. Luckily I never had a reason to verify the accuracy of my RDC, but I guess if it turns out to be off, this will serve as a tutorial video for you RDC owners out there. Alright, let's check it out. First, I wanted to share some background on the Babolat RDC. It was first introduced in 1992 in this yellow model. It later came out in a blue model. Eventually it was discontinued, and there was nothing like it on the market until recently when the Wilson Bayardo Tune Pro came out. In case you were wondering what the machine's price tag was, well, when I bought it in 1995, it cost just as much as my Star 4 stringing machine. This Babolat RDC measures 4 physical characteristics of a racket and 1 physical characteristic of the strings. This data helps a racket technician understand a racket's performance and is a valuable tool in frame customization and matching. In case you're not familiar what a Babolat RDC measures, I thought I would share the 4 physical characteristics of a racket. So first we have the static weight, and it's the weight of a racket when you pick it up and the racket is at rest. So we have the scale here that you slide open here, and we're going to go ahead and place it on this plate, and it does come out in grams, so it's showing at 336. Now I actually prefer to use my digital scale over the Babolat RDC scale for the fact that it does come out to the 10th of a gram, which I feel is more accurate. So this is at 336.3. And it also can convert it into ounces, which is 11.86. So for the purpose of customization, I do prefer to use my digital scale, and I'll leave a link down below for the scale that I use. Next, let's take a look at the frame stiffness of a racket, and that's one of the cool features about this RDC. And it allows me to take my own RA stiffness specs. So typically if you look on the websites like Tennis Warehouse, it's going to list the stiffness based on a strung racket, and typically you're going to get a lower reading when it's strung versus unstrung. So this particular racket is at 59 listed, and I'm getting 60, but when this racket was unstrung it was 63. So typically you're going to get a 2 or 3 unit lower reading on a strung racket. Now we have the balance point of a racket, and the way this RDC measures that is there's a bar here that rotates, and there's a measurement here on this plate. So what I'm going to go do is I'll just rotate this bar until the racket starts to level off, and I can see that it's at 32.5 centimeters. Now a balance point is how a racket feels when you hold it in your hand. I prefer to actually use a balance board over the RDC balance point feature there, mainly for the ease of use. So I have a balance board here that I use most often, and it's an old one made by Dunlop. It works good for rackets that are 27 inches in length. And what I like about it is that it can measure the balance point not only in centimeters and inches, but it also has the balance points, which is something that I use. Now here's another balance board made by Dunlop, and this is something that is currently available. I'll leave a link down below, and this one works really good too. The 4th physical characteristic of a racket is dynamic inertia, and it's better known as swing weight. And what it does is it's going to swing the racket 3 times, and it does take the static weight and the balance point in consideration, but in the end it's going to give you a number that'll determine how easy or how hard it is to swing the racket. And if you want to learn more about swing weight and balance point, I did another video here. Now let's talk about the 1 physical characteristic that the RDC can measure on the strings of a racket, and it's called string bed deflection. It's also known as string bed stiffness. So what I'm going to do here is place this on the racket in the center of the string bed. It's going to apply a set amount of pressure, then come out with a deflection number. And with that number, it tells me what the player will feel when the ball makes impact with the strings. And also based on that number, it'll help me recommend the proper reference tension for that particular player. Now this is also similar to the dynamic tension that's determined by an ERT 300. And if you want to learn about string bed deflection and dynamic tension, you can watch this video. In addition, string bed deflection readings by the RDC can help track tension loss if you take an initial reading and compare that to another reading over time. And based on that reading over time, it can also tell you the potential energy in the strings. Now here's the moment you've been waiting for, or at least I've been waiting for. We'll see after 30 years of use if my Babolat RDC is measuring swing weight accurately. Before I begin, I would like to thank Josh Newton, the Babolat sales support specialist, for providing these 3 calibration rackets specifically designed for this purpose. And it included an instruction sheet with 12 steps. Looks pretty straightforward. Before I get started with step number 1, I did want to mention that what's highlighted here is the RDC is accurate to plus or minus 1. So that's good to know as I'm going through this process. So what I did is these 3 rackets have 3 different swing weights, and it's numbered here on each of the frames. And I also wrote it on a piece of paper here. So what I'm going to do first in step number 1 is measure the swing weight of each racket. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the lowest one, which is at 253. And I'm going to take a measurement more than once because I just want to make sure I'm getting the correct reading. So my first go around is 353. Now if this second one comes out at 353, I'm not going to do a third one, but if it's something different, then I'm going to do a third one. And so that one is at 253, so that's spot on. So what I'm going to do here under 253 is I'm going to write a 0 because that means I'm not going to have to make any adjustments in the steps to come. This next one is a 315. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and put this on here. Okay, so that one came out at 316. And that one's at 316. So I'm going to stick with that. So what I'm going to do is write up -1 here. That's what I'm going to have to do to adjust it to bring it down to the 315. We'll take a look at this third racket and see. So this should be measuring at 389. Okay, so I got 391. So that's up by 2 units. Okay, I could do one more. That one was at 390. And that one's also at 391. So on this one, we're going to adjust this by -2. So the next step is for me to move to a different screen. And we're going to do that by pressing button number 5 and holding it down until another screen appears. So I'm just going to hold that. Okay, so we have another screen. And next we're going to press the numbers 1, 9, 9, 1. So you'll see a screen with all kinds of numbers now. And we're going to press number 6. All right, so now you're at the screen that has 3 different rackets settings, and this is where you're going to do the calibration. So for this top racket, I have 0 here because it came on exactly at 253, so I'm not going to mess with that. So I'm going to press this button here that goes to the next racket. And for the second racket, we're going to adjust it by 1 unit, but we're going to -1. So there's a minus and a plus here. So I'll press minus there. Then we're going to go to the next racket. And this is the one that was reading 2 units high. So I'm going to go ahead and -2 here. And once you get those 3 in there, you're going to press button number 8, which is valid. And so you'll see the original screen, but this test is blinking now. So what you're going to do is turn off the machine and wait for 30 seconds. All right, so that's 30 seconds. And before I turn it on, I always put this tulip, that's what it's called, into this hole when I turn it on. At least that's what I was told when I got my machine. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And what's going to happen next is you want to be able to, that test over here is still blinking. And you're going to press button number 8, and you just hold it until that test stops blinking. So I'm just going to hold it here. So it just cleared out the screen. So this is where you're going to retest the 3 rackets that you just took measurements. All right, I'm back. I had to silence my other phone. So I'm going to go ahead and check the 3 rackets and see where the swing weights are now. And so this is the first racket at 353. And I'll go through the same process I did the first go around. And I'm never going to assume that the first one is the correct reading. I want to confirm it by doing it at least twice. So I got a 254 on that first reading. And another 254. So that's 1 unit higher than the 253. Next we got the 315 racket. And I did have to adjust the calibration by bringing it down, because it was reading 316. Okay, so we're still at 316. I'm going to check it again. All right, we're at 316. So this one didn't change, even though I did adjust the calibration in the RDC. But let's take a look at the third racket, which is supposed to measure 389. And I did have to bring it down, or at least adjust it by 2 units. Okay, we got 390. And 389. Let's take one more, and hopefully it'll be one of those 2 numbers. And we got 390. So I'm going to just keep the calibration the way it is, because right now what I'm looking at is 1 unit higher in each of the 3 rackets. So I got 254, 316, and 390 on these 3 rackets. So when I had to adjust the 2 rackets initially, I did have to go back one more time on the third racket, because when I subtracted 2, it actually came out a little low. So I went through this process again, which I didn't show you, but I did do it again, and I actually reduced it or increased it by 1. So what I had to do is make an adjustment there, but I'm happy with the calibration. In this video, I shared with you the various functions of a Babolat RDC, and I'm happy that my RDC was functioning correctly in the last 30 years. Now, although my initial settings weren't exactly spot on, I'm happy that I had this opportunity to adjust my settings so that it reads consistently 1 unit higher than these calibration rackets. And I hope it stays that way for the next 30 years. Thanks for watching, happy stringing, and let your racket play.